So, and you'll hear from Dave later, they've got the broken parts off and they've got the new parts coming, so. It feels good to have them back where they belong,
Yeah.
particularly the one in the auditorium.
I'm just stunned that those got moved.
You're fine. All right, good evening. Thank you for your interest and attendance at tonight's school board meeting. The policy and practices of the WG School Board is to encourage discussion by citizens of subjects related to the management of the school district at board meetings. The school board has provided specific time on the agenda as part of listening to public communication, delegations, and petitions. And we just ask that the participation be limited specifically to the portion of the agenda titled Communication from the Public, or unless otherwise invited to participate by the board. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Can we get a roll call, please?
Ashley Graham?
Yes.
David Elliott?
Yes.
Troy Jansen?
Yes.
Dan Barron?
Yes.
Tim Flores?
Yes.
Looking at the agenda here, I don't think we have any need to make any changes, so we'll just need a motion to approve.
I move the Board of Directors approve the agenda for the regular meeting on Monday, August 17th, 2020, as presented.
Second.
Motion by Troy, seconded by Sam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any questions on the previous minutes from either the special session or the regular board meeting?
I move that the board of directors approve the minutes from the regular meeting on July 20th, 2020, and special meeting on August 3rd, 2020, as presented.
Second.
Motion by Sam, seconded by Troy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. Okay, so now's the time we're going to discuss the public hearing to continue participation in the instructional support program. This is the time and place and date to hold a hearing on the proposed resolution to continue participation in the instructional support program. Luke, have there been any written correspondence filed by any resident or patron of the district regarding the projects?
No.
Any oral objections or comments from anyone in the audience at this time? Okay, then at this time, we will declare the time for receiving oral and written comments to be closed at 6:03 p.m. And at this time, we would also like to invite any members of the audience to come to the front with comments about items of interest or concern. Please begin by stating your name, and we would just appreciate if you would limit your comments to 3 minutes or so that we can keep the meeting moving in a timely fashion. Just a quick reminder that Iowa law prohibits us from discussing specific employees or their job performance. Yeah.
Kendra Spolstra, co-president of WGA. Just wanted to kind of give you guys an update as we will all be back at school tomorrow. So we did send welcome cards to all of our new staff, as well as a video that kind of replaced our introduction that would have happened at the orientation today. And other than that, we're just excited to be able to meet all of our new staff and meet all of our new kids and everything this week. I think our administrators are going to give us a lot of time to really work together as teams and departments to really kind of figure out how to navigate our virtual and in-class students. So that's going to be really, really nice to have that ability to do that. So yeah, we're excited.
Awesome.
Be back, so.
We're excited to have you back. Thanks, Kipper.
Yep.
Anyone else? Liv? Okay, then let's move on to Hawk highlights.
So thank you for the board members that attended our orientation for introductions this morning. And we'll talk about a great energy, just a great energy. 11 new staff members, excited to be part of Woodward-Granger Schools. And we spent the morning with them and kind of oriented them. So we unpacked the mission statement. We looked at the board goals, previous board goals that we've had in place, and really just an opportunity to start fostering that relationship and building a relationship around what it means to work for Woodward-Granger Schools. Principals played a role in that. They had a session that they kind of put together that just really solidified the points that we were trying to make. And as I said at the end of the day, if you didn't hear anything else that we talked about, it's that you're not doing this alone. It's the toughest job on the planet. I've said that for a jillion years. Teaching is the toughest job on the planet, but you don't have to do it alone. And we've shared a lot of different resources with them. So it kind of energizes me. I get excited when you jump in front of a group of people and tell them what a great place they have to work. And I think they felt that as well. Any of the principals want to add anything as it relates to the orientation today?
I thought it went well. It was nice to talk to the teachers and meet with them and feel their energy and feel really how they wanted to be here. That was nice.
It was a fun group of people. That was a nice part of it. It was just a lot of laughter, a lot of personality in the room. It was a fun morning.
You can sense the energy. They're excited to be back. Kendra, I love hearing that you're excited to be back, and that's the sense that I get as I talk to teachers, even working through the hall. So we're ready for kids on August 24th and ready to get this thing started. So it was a good day. It was a really good day.
Awesome, that's great to hear. So you guys had them in the morning, and then they went back to their buildings this afternoon?
They did. We had the kind of the mentoring and induction program people come in and about a 20-minute presentation, and then released to work with their mentors. I know they worked a little bit with their principals, and then they spent the afternoon in their respective schools, spending time with principals, mentors, and getting ready for the year to start.
Awesome. Great. How about back to school night?
Yeah, I wanted to put this on the agenda. I think I love what, and Christy reminds me that I talked about reimagining school. And Christy, today I talked a little bit about just having to really think differently. And I think back to school nights, it's going to look different for families. And I just really wanted to just spend a moment and talk a little bit about what parents could expect as it relates to that connection. So I was just kind of hoping the principals could just kind of what it is they're doing to start connecting with those families, since we're not going to have that traditional back to school night. Tonight is about, further in the agenda, is about what can you expect those first few days of school, because I know parents have that question on their mind. So tonight's a little bit about, here's what you can expect that first week of school. So Matt, if you can just kind of talk about how you're going to connect with families differently than what the back to school night.
Just in regards to back to school night.
Just in regard to back to school night, please.
Okay. If you didn't get a chance to watch any of my announcements the last couple of Fridays, I'll just kick this back out to people. Back to school night is going to be virtual. What we've asked each grade level to do is to create a video, a video and a Google slide presentation to go along that. Every grade level, it's not just a rookie group, so they know what's kind of coming at them in terms of questions from parents that they may have. So you're going to see in that video and in that Google slide presentation, hopefully all of your answers that you may have as parents for dropping your little people off that you would normally ask us on Thursday night. Thursday night was supposed to be our back to school night anyway, so by Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock, all of the videos and Google Slides will be uploaded onto a website that Lauren Holmes is creating. So you'll be able to go right to the link that Lauren has created, and you'll be able to click on your fourth grader and your second grader and to be able to go in. You'll meet all of the teachers from the grade level. So that'll be good that way, because if virtual remote learning for all of those people as well. They're going to get to meet all of the teachers, see all of the classrooms, and just know what, just to be able to put a face to the names that popped up on those class lists last Friday afternoon. So hopefully we'll talk about procedures. Anything that we've met in our building leadership teams about will be reinforced on those presentations as well. So I think, and following that up, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, any questions that parents may have, I'm sure that they will be shooting my way or the teacher's way. So again, not exactly what we wanted. Back to school night usually is all of the backpacks and the supplies, and we're going to let those filter in throughout the entire first week of school, so that your little kindergartner or preschooler is not bringing in a nap mat and like half of Walmart with them. So yeah, there's been a lot of good questions out on social media and through email that we've gotten that hopefully those presentations will answer for parents, and if not, you'll have Friday and the following few days to get that follow-up from us. So.
Quick question, this is kind of off the topic. I know registration was not where you wanted it to be last week. Do we need to put a plug in to parents?
I would love to put a plug into parents that yes, we still need registration, we still need fees paid. Those are still a thing that, with everything that Mother Nature threw at us last Monday, I figured I would try to at least end the week with a little bit of a fun, positive note. So yeah, totally called my bluff. I'm getting to 80%. We're not there yet. So hopefully we get that percentage up there, because all the kids are on a list. So hopefully they're all the ones that are showing up on August 24th to us.
Thank you.
Just climb the ladder, middle school.
Very similar. We're doing a transition video. Normally we bring the 6th grade parents in and have an informational night for them. But instead of doing that, we're going to put that all on one video. So every teacher will introduce themselves, just let them know, hey, my name is Jake Malling, I teach such and such, here's my classroom. We'll have a video virtual tour where I'll have Cody's little GoPro camera and walk around the entire building, at least the middle school part, just so they have something that they've seen before. I don't know if I got the technical skills for it, but I'd like to find some way to almost transpose like a physical map over it. I had a parent send me Ankeny's back to school idea, and it was an actual map of the school, so the kids could actually go through it and kind of get, hey, I know that, Miss Parsons' room is on the, I don't even know what direction that is. What was that? East side of it, and the other one is on the other side of the U. So hopefully they get some kind of understanding of that. Biggest thing our 6th graders have are lockers. I don't know how to help them virtually with the lockers, but all our teachers are going to be out in the hallways helping them out. And then it's going to be a lot of communication the first week of school. I plan on probably almost doing a nightly one the first week of just giving little small updates so parents can feel a little bit more reassured, because it's going to be different. We are still tweaking our schedule for next week. We don't quite have that 100% down. It's about 98% down, but as far as the final bell schedule, we're not there yet. So things they change on us almost daily. I just had another staff member issue come up. We might not have a staff member for the first 2 weeks. So you don't know what the curveballs are going to be, but we're going to try and get a lot of the information out to parents just so they can feel a little bit more assured about what this first week's going to be. And our staff's going to be out in the hallways full force with our kids in between every class, just helping as much as we can just to calm some of them. So that's our plan, very similar to what the elementary's doing.
Thank you. Yeah, Ron.
Excuse me, Thursday, Mr. Icorn and I at 5:30 are going to host a virtual new student orientation back to school night. We're going to make it interactive, much like we did for the senior award, so we can present some information. Mr. Chapman has agreed to be on the computer to share or relay the questions that are being asked, so we can address those issues. In talking with Ms. Griffin, and she's been manning the phones since we've been out with the things going on last week. Frequent questions that have been asked list will be created, so that way we can have some other topics to address. most of our day stays the same. We are working on the schedule, just trying to make sure, we had to make some changes to try to accommodate the numbers by adding a third lunch period, and so just trying to get that finalized.
Those questions that Beth is getting, are you seeing any trends or more frequent questions, or are they all up in the?
A lot of the questions are coming, I mean, there are things that, you know, since we've made the decision to start at 8:15, I think when you're here, you know that, and you just kind of assume everybody else knows that, and maybe just communicating the start of the school day. I've had some students, you know, what are the buses going to run? You know, what does that look like if I have a free period? A lot of the questions we're getting now are dealing with driving to school, getting those school permits, and they all have to go down to the district office for Dr. Adams. There are just some things that people know or they thought they've heard, are we delaying the start, that we're just trying to get that information out, and I think it's all over the board.
Sure.
I think some of the newest things are, you know, can students have backpacks? The ninth grade friend said, yes, you know, we're not gonna have you use the lockers, we want you to carry everything, so.
Thank you. Beth?
So we're also going to do a virtual back to school night. I meet with teachers tomorrow, so we're going to plan to discuss that then. And then all of our families at Greenwood, since it's all students are served with an IEP, they're all going to have an IEP meeting or an amendment to their IEP within the first 2 weeks of school to make any changes necessary for the continuous learning on the iPage. So all special education teachers received their online PD from me as to how to do that. So that's actually a district-wide thing. So there's going to be a lot of communication with all of our students in special education.
Thank you. Great.
So what you're hearing is we want to partner. We want to partner with parents. We want to create the most welcoming environment we possibly can, and balance that with the safety. So we're gonna do a good job to find that happy balance of partnering with families, welcoming families, making this a positive thing. We all love taking pictures of our children in front of the school sign that first day. I was talking to Taylor a little bit about that today. She wants that experience, and she can certainly have that experience. But at the same time, we're going to do some things that maintain the safety of staff and students in the building. So appreciate the update from the principals on that.
Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the discussion agenda.
So I put board goals on our discussion. I wanted to have just a quick conversation about how you would like to proceed. A year ago, we conducted a work session and talked about the 5 board goals that we had. You know, I'll be real frank, they're timeless. I had a great conversation today with our new staff, talking about how particular, I think we're doing a great job with board goal B, which is the ongoing development and retention of staff. I think you would agree with that when you saw the talent sitting in the room that's going to join the great talent that we already have here at Woodward-Granger. I talked a lot to the new teachers about how A and C, those particular goals should be near and dear to their hearts right in that classroom. And then I shared a little bit about that strong community school partnership and what we're doing as I work with the mayors. We're going to have the mayors and Matt, hopefully starting in October, some public forums, quarterly forums, and then last, we're always going to need to be planning proactively for successful growth. So, you know, I'm grounded. My work's kind of grounded in that, as is the principals, but I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to talk about them, and just wanted kind of some direction, advice, how you'd like to proceed. This is under discussion only. In September, I'd like to have it under action, and just kind of wanted some direction on how we wanted to proceed with our board goals.
So when we did the workshop with Harry last year, I was under the impression that the goals we were designing were meant to be long-term goals. And I really think this board and this leadership group has done a really good job of activating the goals. They're not just words on a piece of paper. They're really tied to the work that we're doing. So I would like to keep the goals the way they are. I don't know that there needs to be necessarily any changes or refinement, but rather just really continued anchoring of our decisions and our actions to those goals that we've set.
Can you remind me what A and C are?
Yeah, A is cultivating support that ensures strong, successful student learning. And C is exploring, prioritizing, and implementing programs to meet the full range of student needs. And one of the activities that we did today with the new staff was we kind of unpacked the mission statement, had them do some work with that. And then I kind of walked through the goals, and there's such an alignment. There's a fantastic alignment between our mission, what we're trying, why we exist. That's what a mission statement's all about. Why do we exist? And then really being able to overlap that and align with our board goals. And I saw a really nice fit today, and so I'm not sure I'm ready to say, hey, we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater here and start over. I do think they're timeless, but I also wanted to have an opportunity to, how do we want to move forward? So,
Of the goals that we set last year, which do you feel we made the least?
definitely planning proactively. E, just simply because we were, if you recall, during the work session, Harry kind of said A and C is kind of where the heavy lift is, and so we spent a lot of time with A and C. I think D, advancing a strong community school partnership. I put a lot of energy into that, particularly with the mayors. We didn't talk a lot about planning for successful growth. I did have that 10-year facility planning committee together. Now, when were we going to meet? March 24th. You probably remember that, Sam. And so that plan got a little derailed, but we're definitely going to be working on that this year as well.
Yeah, we need to get on that because
Yeah.
we'll hit a middle school
Yep.
crunch
Yep.
soon, I think.
So,
I'm very satisfied with those goals, though. I felt good about them when we created them. I knew that they would be 4 or 5 years before we need to look at them again.
well, maybe I can put something together for September, and we can approve them as a 2 to 3 year goal. Would that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, thank you.
How about return to learn plan?
Sure. It's really, the words I've been using a lot is reflection and refinement. The BLTs and at the building level, they continue to reflect and to refine and to kind of zero in. I am going to make a plea. I've talked about this in the last 2 board meetings, as it relates to transportation. We're going to limit the number of students on buses, 2 to a seat. 3 if they're a family member, we're okay with that. All of our students will be wearing masks. The bus drivers, since last week, are contacting parents and working with them, and things are falling in place. If you can drive your children, please drive your children. It obviously minimizes the number of students on a bus and ensures more of the safety. We do have a situation that we really need to focus on the students that are qualified, bus qualified, which would be 2 miles from the elementary, 3 miles from the high school. We do have a group of students because it was a nice thing to do, Ashley, and that was, I'm calling it the Birch Street area. We didn't have sidewalks to that area, but as you know, the city put together a great sidewalk plan, executed, and now we do have sidewalks. So the families that we used to pick up, that they weren't bus eligible, but we picked them up because there wasn't a safe route. Now there isn't. We're going to discontinue service to those families. I worked with Frank, Bus 3. We have tremendous bus drivers, by the way. They know these kids and excited to get back to school as well. So I worked with Frank today to try to identify who those families might be, but we're going to get the word out that we would if we could, but with what's going on now, we just can't. And so that's probably one of the biggest differences we're going to see in transportation. Otherwise, things are falling nicely into place. So then we get them to school, and this is, I'm teeing it up, we get them to school, and I've asked, last week during my admin meeting, I asked the principals to really focus on what does that first day of school look like, and talk a little bit about communication. So let's work in reverse order this time. So Rob, let's start at the high school. What does day 1 look like, and then what can families expect for communication over the next, let's just say 10 to 14 days?
Okay. I think day 1, when you first arrive, we're going to ask families to not try to have their kids here before 8 o'clock. Our kids are going to go into, if they're not going to have breakfast, they're going to go down into the high school commons in the gym, separated areas. Again, we're going to be working with making sure that you're wearing a face mask, following the guidelines. If you're, obviously 6 feet apart is the best. If you're not able to be 6 feet apart, we need to make sure you have the second mitigation strategy, make sure you're wearing a face mask. I think the first day is going to be a little chaotic, as it typically is in a high school. Sometimes students' interests change. The courses that I signed up for in February may not be what I want to take now that it's August. So we'll have some kids changing schedules. I think the new lunches and how we're going to do that will cause some norm shift. The commons being occupied for our lunches, Jake and I have been talking that we have to have as many tables available to separate the kids at a proper safe distance. So there's going to be some privileges that students were used to enjoying that won't be there. And so I'm sure there's going to be, after day one, I don't know what the parents are going to expect, but I know our staff is probably going to get together and, what did we learn from today? How did it look? Well, it didn't look very good. Well, okay, it didn't go the smoothest. Okay, what can we do differently? From our kids that are riding the buses coming in to our kids waiting for the buses as they're leaving. What can we do to improve that? And I think once we get on those things, we find out where the gaps are, where the holes are, and we constantly refine, we communicate that out. We send those gentle reminders. Remember to take your PE stuff home with you and wash it. That was a huge point of emphasis when the students were coming back, because we had a lot of items left here that typically shouldn't be here for an extended period of time. There were some t-shirts that stood up on their own. I mean, I get it, it's kind of a badge of honor in high school, but we need to make sure that our kids are keeping clean and keeping their items clean. And that's not always the best. I think the face mask issue, making sure the students are wearing their face mask, make sure that we're modeling that, and moving forward, just hopefully having a good day. And each day I hope that the process gets a little bit better.
Thanks, Rob.
Very similar. At pickup time in the morning, we ask parents not to be here at 6:30 or 7 a.m. If they could push that towards 7:45, 8 o'clock, that'd be great. We really want to stress that middle schoolers come through the middle school door. That's something we worked on last year to really separate middle school up by us, high school down by the high school door. Breakfast will be in the cafeteria. If they're not eating breakfast, we're going to filter them into the middle school gym, have that separated out by 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We'll call the bleachers up. And then the first day is usually different for us because I do like to speak to the entire grade. So we'll have meetings of 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade in the gym. And then I kind of give them the welcome to middle school and then just some of the ground rules for what makes middle school successful. The schedule, we'll run through a normal schedule. We'll pull them. Those will be about 10 to 15 minutes meetings, I guess you would call them. But otherwise, the day will run fairly smoothly to a normal day. A lot of our teachers, our biggest thing is our 6th graders and their lockers. That really is the biggest obstacle of the middle school. Once they get over that locker, life is pretty dang good. So we know we're going to have them out there. Routine is huge. We've got a lot of elementary in us still in the middle school, and we have teachers who really try to hammer down routine the first week. The big thing is just, can we establish relationships? Can we get kids feeling safe, comfortable, and welcomed? And then can they figure out a routine? Do they know where they're going? Middle school's tough, but if you can't open your locker and if you can't know where you're going the next class, and if you don't know where the cafeteria is, all of a sudden you're in this jungle, this maze, and life gets a little tougher. But we have a lot of teachers who take them on maybe a tour of the middle school during their class and just really try to hammer down those routines of how do we get to class, how do we exit class, and what are we doing next. So that's the great thing, especially about our 6th grade team, is they really do a very nice job with our 6th grade class to get them just comfortable. And I wish I could just get a feeling, a picture of a feeling of a 6th grader on the first day versus a 6th grader Friday at the end of the week, because they're completely different kids by the end of the week, and that's just really fun to see. So first day is a lot about, can we just get them comfortable and knowing where they're going next. And then, like I said, a lot of communication that first week, and then I always send them out a Friday message every Friday of the year. So, any questions? Thanks.
Yeah.
I've got plenty. Okay, what will the elementary and ELC look like? I met with each individual building leadership team representatives today from the elementary, and then we did at the ELC, or vice versa. First of all, having summer school, having the 37 kids that we had for summer school was a nice little experiment as to 6-year-olds on up and how they would handle the entire mask thing. And what we learned very quickly is they did a fantastic job. I think adults were more worried about the mask issue than what the kids were. Same with sanitation stations and things like that. It became kind of old news by day 2. The novelty was gone, and it was just use of sanitizer, use of mask, use of social distancing when possible. So it was amazing to me to watch kids that are going to be first graders, kids that are going to be fourth graders do that. So that was fantastic. Arrival time. Kids are going to get off the bus 7:45 in the morning because that is how our buses work, and they're going to come directly into, because they're going to have assigned seats on each bus that whether it's with their family members like what Dr. Adams said, or how they are, that's going to be their assigned seat to and from. And when they arrive at school, they're going to go directly into the building and to their classrooms. So before, we used to hold them in the cafeteria and the gym. That is no longer obviously an option. So they're going to go directly to their classroom at 7:45 in the morning. We've adjusted all of the teachers' instructional or duty, or I guess instructional day time for them to be there is 7:45 to 3:45 in the afternoon, rather than what it was before was 8 to 4. So the teachers are essentially going to be on duty, ready to take on the kids at 7:45 when they come through. Like Mr. Mullen and Mr. Boley, my ask is that parents that are dropping kids off not do that before 8 o'clock. Not do that before 8 o'clock. We just do not. Dr. Adams said 96% of our kids, or parents, families want their kids in school, and we need their help to make this continue to run that way. So with their help, if they're dropping off, picking up, or dropping off in the morning, not before 8 o'clock in the morning, that allows our bus kids to get to and from where they need to be. So that's my huge ask from our parents. Really, once we get them in the classroom, that is where my concern kind of goes out. Because our teachers have done a nice job of cohort grouping the kids. We've minimized our classrooms down. We've taken out all the soft seating, like the couches and the fun little things that kids love to snuggle up and read a book and do all that. That stuff is all out of the environment right now. If we do group the kids in the classroom setting, they're all facing the same direction. So they're in groups of 4 cohort groups, still spaced out. Masks are still going to be worn in there, but that is essentially what the classroom will look like. That same cohort of kids will also eat lunch together. So that's going to be our way of being able to trace the kids if something were to happen in regards to COVID. So arrival, all hands on deck, they'll be spaced out throughout, our adults will be spaced out throughout the building, welcoming kids, but also reminding little people, masks are still on, we're still trying to hold. It's hard to tell elementary kids to hold out their arms and not, because then it becomes a game, because then we start spinning and hitting people. So there's a fine line with what we instruct our kids to do. So there's that. Recess also is a I guess a question of a lot of our adults that are asking about what recess is going to look like. We're going to have, and this is similar to all of the schools around us, because I've been in conversation with North Polk, Ballard, Roland, Story, State, or East Marshall, Gilbert, Madrid. All of our recesses are going to be in zones. So yeah, you'll still see a lot of kids outside at recess, or a grade level of kids outside at recess at a time. We won't have the crossover times like what we used to. We've structured it so that the kids will be, one classroom will be in zone 1. I'll pick the elementary. The field, the next zone is going to be the concrete where the basketball hoops and everything that's marked out for them. The other zone is going to be the gaga ball pit and the playground equipment. And then for second grade, they're the only one that has to have a fourth zone, that north parking lot that is kind of parallel or adjacent to the pond. That will be another zone. And then the kids will rotate zones throughout the week because we don't want second graders to be stuck in the same zone all week because they will tell us very quickly, I don't want to be in zone 2 anymore, Mr. Bruin. So they've got a rotation going with that. So structured recesses, same thing over at the Early Learning Center, hard surface, playground equipment, field. And so we're gonna do it that way. We've also structured it to where lunch, we've created space or 10 minutes in between each lunch period so that kids are out of the lunchroom before the next group comes in, so that way we can clean things appropriately. And if you've ever visited the lunchroom, if you've ever just for your own entertainment visited the lunchroom, you used to remember that half of the lunchroom would be full of kids while the other half essentially sat empty. Well, now the entire lunchroom is, when a grade level comes through, they're going to be sitting in there and occupying the entire cafeteria. So when I used to be able to put 16 kids on a double table, cafeteria table, there's now going to be 8. And they're going to, for lack of better, like zigzag occupancy on that table. So there won't be anybody directly across from them. I think that is, we're trying to replicate as much normalcy as possible without shaking the kids up too much. So went in yesterday, marked out what we could and could not do. Second grade's my biggest bunch, and so we'll be able to occupy the cafeteria and also the brown tables that we use for events and things like that, that kids will be able to sit at as well and still be able to safely be out there. Talked with Taher, lunch, where I thought we were gonna just be able to limit it to just, hey, you're eating a hot lunch option and that's your only option. They're still gonna run deli sandwiches as an option on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and salads on Tuesday, Thursday. So they will have an option too, but again, common sense, there's not gonna be any of the adults are gonna serve them their food. There's not gonna be any kids picking their own fruits and vegetables like what we've been able to do in the past. The kids won't handle, there won't be any punch codes anymore, that's out of, the adults are gonna hold on to their scan card. As Lucas comes through, his teacher will scan it for him and away he'll go. So I think in terms of dismissal in the afternoon, 3:21, these kids go to this section and there won't be any more dawdling around, hey, I wanna go down and see my teacher that I haven't talked to from last year. We're gonna have all adults on deck helping supervise and getting kids where they need to be. We have designated spots where Granger Daycare will meet. We have designated spots where Hawk's Nest will meet. We have designated, as long as Mother Nature cooperates, we're gonna have the kids outside waiting for red bus, blue bus, yellow bus, green bus. That way, again, it's outside, masks are still gonna be on. During recess, masks are still gonna be worn. It worked during summer school. I had my reservations about that, but the kids were able to self-monitor if they needed a mask break. They just went up. The building naturally gives some shade up against the building, so they went up against the building, just kind of chilled out, took their mask off. They weren't within 6 feet of other kids that were mask breaking. So the old up against the wall, if you're back when you were in trouble when you were in elementary school, now has a whole different meaning because the kids are up there taking a mask break, just kind of chilling in the shade. So I think that's kind of, when the kids come to school in the morning, they're gonna go straight to their classrooms and then the teachers are gonna release them to go out to the lockers in their cohorts. That way again, traffic's controlled. They're gonna space the kids in the locker. Everybody has their own locker. So that's good. Thank you for purchasing the lockers that we did a few years ago for the Early Learning Center. That's a huge perk right now. And same, like I said, dismissal, very structured, all of the preschool rather than the ELC tunnel of pickup that we used to have before. Preschoolers are going to be down in the gym, spaced out so that when when Ashley's coming to pick up Low Man, we'll say, Mrs. Brandt's here, we'll go get little little man down there behaving, and we'll bring
Great.
him right up to you. So I think we have, the teachers and I have worked together to make sure that we can support the policies that are in place and still replicate something that looks similar to what we have done in the past. So again, it all sounds good right now until you throw 300 5, 6, and 7-year-olds into a building, and then we'll see what happens. Then we'll see what happens. But we're very excited. But yeah, that's my big ask from parents is the transportation, not to drop your kids off until 8 o'clock in the morning, and then just remember to put your kids' masks back in their backpack every day, because that's pediatric. The little kids' masks are hard to find just buying in bulk right now. We ordered a couple, I think 300 more of them today, but they had those fun little fashionable masks that they turned it all into. So I've got my fingers crossed. I think it's going to be, I'm just excited to get them all back. So.
They need to come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question from a different perspective, and that's staff prep time, photocopy time, things like that, with kids going right into the classroom and recesses the structured. When are teachers going to have time to prep?
Specials are still pretty similar. They're 30 minutes, so that, I mean, granted, that's not, our goal is to be very overprotective of everything at the beginning, and if things are going better than what we want it to appear that we've really got it over covered for parents to be confident in what we're doing. And then as we get into a routine, if we see that we can start backing some people off of that supervisory type of a thing, we'll make those adjustments. But at day one, it's going to be all hands on deck to make sure, usually probably day 1 through 20, just to get, they always say the first 20 days is where you really establish your routine and things like that. So we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Yeah, babe, it's not ideal, but yeah, we're really pressing on all the adults.
And I'm sure they recognize the importance, but
Yeah.
it's going to be tough for them to
Absolutely.
do that job.
Absolutely. Well, like Dr. Adams said, it's tough to job on her. So, okay. Any other specific questions between back to school night and how we're going to operate things?
I think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Need you, Rebecca?
So we have 30 districts coming to us this year, and so we've got between 30 and 30, we could end up with 35 vehicles coming every day. And so what our plan is to do is to have staff exit through the gym doors to go pick up 3 districts at a time. So we'll call 3 districts from inside, and then they'll go out the gym doors. We'll then bring students and staff in through the front entryway. They'll go straight to their classrooms. Students will be wearing masks. However, I've talked to several parents and they've said that their kids are kind of struggling with the masks. So we're talking about different ways to get students, like I've said every single time we've met, get them used to wearing masks. We also, so breakfast will be brought to students, so we'll find out how many students are going to want to eat breakfast in the morning, and we'll just bring prepackaged breakfast to their classrooms for them to eat. Classrooms, as teachers have been in and out, setting up their rooms, we've got a lot of, I mean, we usually only have between 4 and 6 students in each classroom in general, but then you also add in 4 to 6 plus adults in the room. So all of the desks are kind of pushed up against a wall to allow as much mitigation strategy as possible with social distancing. Students will eat lunch in their classroom as well, except for once a week we'll be able to have one from the green team and gold team on each side of the gym. We'll be able to put the barrier down the middle. Same goes with lunchtime, or sorry, with gym time. So we've got a gym schedule for all of the students to be able to follow too, so that we can have 2 groups at a time in our gym. We've also got parking is going to be pushed all the way to the back of the parking lot, so that we'll be able to have some space in the parking area for students to walk around. We've got some picnic tables that we're hopefully going to be bringing in that'll be able to allow for some outside learning space for students as well. Still working on the playground to get that area ready to go for them. We've got Expectation stations are gonna be, kind of hit the ground running, just like Mr. Berman was saying, and like Jake was saying, just those expectations right away about how things are going to go. Silly things that you maybe wouldn't think about, but hygiene, we have a lot of students that do hygiene every day at Greenwood, so we've got to have a hygiene schedule on when students can brush their teeth in the sink so that we can maintain social distancing, knowing that they're not going to have their masks on. So some of those kinds of things, we've just got a lot of schedules in place for students and staff to be able to follow.
How does that 30 districts compare to last year, Becca? Are we up?
Oh, pretty similar. We added a couple districts, but we lost a few districts.
Okay.
So not super different. It's just a matter of, we've got some students that we found can't travel together, so we'll have a few more vehicles.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So one of the things that I didn't hear, but I just want to make sure that we're aware, is we're going to minimize the amount of traffic within our building. And so visitors and volunteers are going to be limited to that front foyer area. I think I've seen it in one or maybe two of the buildings, just a table that says to FedEx and UPS and United States Postal Service, leave things here. Parents, if Johnny forgets his tennis shoes or his cold lunch, they can certainly call ahead and get buzzed in and leave it at the table out in the foyer. And we're just going to minimize the amount of traffic going on within the schools. The other thing that I would share, we're taking the Moran trade out of the mix. Talk to the drivers a little bit. I want the drivers to be around the same 44 kids. And so we knew we were going to recapture some instructional time with that, but it just solidified that decision as I was talking to the bus drivers that by not switching buses, they're not interacting with an additional 44 and try to minimize those exposures. So what you heard tonight is, yeah, there's going to be some inefficiencies in how we run our schools, but the trade-off is the benefit of protecting the staff and students. Kendra and I were meeting a couple weeks ago, and we coined this together. It's the 96% campaign. So very overwhelming that 96% of our families have elected to send their students back to school. That's fantastic. I was hearing 80-20. So when I talk to colleagues around the metro area, typically it's about 80% of the students returning on site, 20% doing virtual. We have 96% wanting to return on site. So I'm going to say let's all put our money where our mouth is then. If we all want to be here, I want to be here. You know that. I'm the first one that wants to be here. I've been saying that since July 1. Then we all kind of have a responsibility in this, and that's to, one, follow our expectations and be okay with the fact that, school's not going to look exactly like it did before, but we've put things in place to ensure the safety and well-being of our staff and our students. And two, what you do, beyond the school hours, all of those kind of impact how COVID-19 could impact our schools. And so if we work really hard at this together, if we all say we'll help with this heavy lift, we can keep 96% of our students in school on site. Because I know it's important. It's important to me, the principals, the teachers, and 96% of our parents. So we've got a little campaign. Ashley helped me put together. We're putting a little video together, a little video campaign, just saying, hey, please do these things and do your part. And so I would just continue to challenge our community, our 96% campaign. So I think great job, principals. Gives you an idea, what they can expect kind of day one. You heard all hands on deck in my Friday report. If you've read it, I asked all hands on deck. Board members, if you have an opportunity on day one or day two to be another set of hands and be at the school sites, you heard about helping with lockers. You heard about, I always enjoyed cutting Go-Gurts open. That was kind of one of the things I always did, was I seemed to find the scissors and cut Go-Gurts open at cold lunch. But just all hands on deck, just to help and point and direct as we do the routines in school. So if you can, Matt, was it just kind of show up? Or how?
For you guys?
You bet.
Yeah, absolutely. It just depends on which location you want to be at. So
Yeah. Luke doesn't know it, but he'll be on site. Taylor and Val will participate as well, as along with myself. So it is all hands on deck those first 2 days as we build routines and help support families during this time. So
Great. Thank you. That was really great information, guys. Any other questions from the board before we move on? Okay. move on to the foundation.
You bet. I'm excited. Ashley and Bob are here. I'm really excited because it was an agenda item that I put on in the spring. Brand new superintendent, I walk in and I'm hearing about this fantastic renovation to the auditorium. All new seating, and it turned out just absolutely beautiful. So who's responsible for that? That was the Woodward-Granger Foundation. And since then, I'm a member, I'm a board member of the Woodward-Granger Foundation, and I've really enjoyed the conversations. They're passionate, they've got direction, and they want to support. And I said, would you be willing to come to a board meeting and talk a little bit about what the Woodward-Granger Foundation is doing and what's happened in the past, and just give us an update, because I think the board needs to hear from you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley and Bob.
Wonderful. Thanks for having us. I'm Ashley Swinton. I was born and raised here in Woodward. I graduated in 2003. With me here is Bob Fitch. He's our current treasurer, but he was actually the project manager on that fantastic capital campaign that Dr. Adams was just talking about. So without his leadership, that certainly would not have been done. And also, thank you so much for your financial contribution towards that project. So I love sitting in the seats and not hearing them squeak. It's been really wonderful. So we're grateful. So a little bit about our history. In 1996, actually, 4 parents, the principal at the high school, the elementary school principal, and the superintendent all got together and talked about ways in which they could better meet needs of students and families in the district back then. And lots of projects were underway. So they did fundraising projects. They got band equipment for the elementary and middle school band. They held garage sales and donated money back to the school. They had a golf tournament called Greens for the Gold. And so they were doing a lot of fundraising very, very early on. So the benefit of that is when all of their kids graduated from school, it kind of sat dormant, but it was invested in such a great way. It's just like been ready for all of us to come in. I moved back to the community in 2013 and was encouraged to get it back going. So I've been focusing on that since then. We have 6 great board of directors. We were grateful that Dr. Adams agreed to be a member. The superintendent's always been a member of the board of directors since its inception. So we're really grateful to have him be a liaison between our group and your group. And so since then, 2016, we began offering staff mini grants. So any staff member at any of the buildings is able to pick an enrichment project they wouldn't be able to normally have the funding for. And as long as the principals are supporting it, and there's a little bit of match funding usually, we are happy to read those. And we've given, I'd say on average, 2 to 4 each year since 2016. Some examples are uniforms for the Grandwood Vocational Program, storytelling kits, some iPads for 6th grade literacy, the puppet theater, that was really cute, by the way, and a butterfly garden have all been funded. So there's really no parameter besides you're a staff member and it's something fun that you really want to do, and that's pretty much all, and it's up to $500. So as long as you met those, we love reading those. They're due October 1 and February 1 of every year, so please get those in. We're hoping to get quite a few. There's probably lots of new needs that are going to be cropping up this fall. So I think that pretty much sums up what we've been doing. Oh, last year we gave some money towards the fashion show that the family consumer science students were doing. So that was really fun and a unique opportunity. That was through a memorial. Marilyn Bell was a teacher, gosh, back in the 50s. Does that sound right to you?
Something like that.
Yeah, so her family gave a ton of money and just said, hey, she was Family Consumer Sciences, what do you want to do with this? And we thought, that sounds like a great way to help invest it. So we helped fund that. That was 2 years ago, I think. So our mission is providing enrichment opportunities. So really, I was listening to you open up, Dr. Adams, about the strategic planning goals, and it sounded like, if I was listening correctly, that goals C and D. So C was about providing educational opportunities to help benefit the students, and then D was strengthening partnerships in the community. So to me, both of those goals would be absolutely merit more discussion about ways in which we can help support you in doing those. So we're just here to offer our assistance. We came to say thank you, and is there anything that you want to add, Bob?
think you've about covered it. Yeah, appreciate all your leadership. Ashley's been involved as a board member for quite a long time and now president for 2 years.
It's so fun, I've lost track, I'm not sure.
But yeah, we're real pleased about how the whole seating project turned out, and glad to be a part of that. And thanks, Dr. Evans, for your kind words. It's my 4th year as treasurer, and I think the only thing you didn't mention is normal course of business. We administer 3 different scholarships in the spring.
Oh, right, of course. Yeah, and we, it says we have given out 56 of those since 1996. So those are always due by April 1st of every year. And there's some criteria that can be met for all 3 of those. But one's a general one, one's a memorial scholarship that Greg Erickson and his wife give out every year in honor of their son. And then one is just...
Geneser?
Yeah, the Geneser. So there's another memorial or an honorarium scholarship that's been donated money towards that we just give out that says vocational learning. So if you have any questions about those, we're easy to find. We're on Facebook. We have a website that we've spent a lot of, well, I can't take any credit for that. That's Leah White, another graduate at WG who is a bit older than me. She's done a wonderful job with all of that. So you should check us out. And any questions, by all means, just let us know. We're happy to be here and happy to help. Do you have any questions for us?
So you have 6 board members.
Yes.
How long are the terms of the board members?
We asked for 3 years.
3
Yep.
years?
But
Okay,
things change.
sure. If someone is interested in helping that's maybe watching this right now, do they just reach out to you guys or check out the website?
Yeah, absolutely. We have like a rolling, we have a general meeting in March, but by all means, if anyone's interested, they could reach out to us. And we like to keep the board pretty much as best we can, half Woodward, half Granger, just because we are a shared community. And we do our best to also keep it, enough females and enough males, just to, make it as fair as possible. But I feel like we might be, no, I think we figured that out. We're pretty much half and half there, so that's good. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah, anytime, just let us know, and we're happy to be here.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your support of our community. I think the work you guys are doing really makes a big impact. So
Thank you.
We very much appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right. Should we talk about the library program?
Absolutely. I was thinking about Dave. He was at a library board meeting, serves on the Woodward Library Board, and I think, we have our board meetings every month, whether we're in Woodward or Granger. We have it in the media center, and I think it was last spring I was kind of thinking about, and as you know, I like to kind of shed light on the work that's going on so the board's aware. And I tell you what, there's a lot of value, a lot of power in a media program. And so I asked Corinne, I said, talk to us about a comprehensive K-12 media program and how that enhances what's going on in school. So, all teed up.
Am I supposed to do something different than what I did? I screen the books. There we go. All right, I'm not really sure where to.
That's a great spot.
Okay. Well, in just listening to what Dr. Adams was saying earlier about the district's mission and goals, sort of nice because it does, it does go along a little bit with, our library program's mission is similar and I think complements it well. So, what our mission is the The WG Library program will provide an appealing, dynamic learning environment and services that support and enhance teaching, literacy, and learning. And so, along with that, the program goals are that we ensure that students and staff are effective users of ideas and information. And I want you to note that I included staff there because a big part of the library program is supporting our staff, both with resources, but also supporting them in other ways. I've talked with the administrators in the past about copyright and all that kind of stuff, and over the past few months, all that sort of stuff's gone out the window in a way, but keeping track of what we can and can't do still, that sort of stuff. Provide materials that will develop literacy, cultural appreciation, and ethical standards. And again, within the last few months, that's come to the forefront. So it's definitely in my mind as I am purchasing materials and stuff for the library as well. And encourage students to become lifelong readers. So when we say informational literacy, that is the ability to identify, find, evaluate, and use information effectively. And I like to say that as a librarian, my job is not to find information for students and staff, it's to teach them how to find the information. And so a lot of the program is centered around information literacy. So what that looks like is at the elementary level, we cover these different topics that you see here, parts of the book, text features, author's purpose. These are all things that they're going to use outside of the library and outside of school and after they graduate from high school, after they graduate from college. So it's really important to make sure that they have a good basic understanding of information literacy, and then we go on to middle school, high school, and sort of build on what they've already learned with that. All right, I mentioned lifelong readers, and if you're a lifelong reader, you're a lifelong learner, because you can't read something and not learn from it. It could be reading a recipe, or it could be reading something online. You're still learning. And so that's why being a reader is so important. And so different ways that we can advocate for kids being lifelong learners is to get them more familiar with authors and illustrators. We've had three authors come and speak at the elementary since I've been here, and then there's also just centering in on those. There's looking at different genres so that they can figure out not only what genres they enjoy reading the most, but they can sort of look at other ones and see what they might enjoy also. Maybe they like science fiction. Well, actually fantasy goes along with science fiction pretty well. So you'll see that. Read alouds. The classroom teachers do a really good job of keeping up with read alouds, but it's also important to do in the media center also. We have the state and national book awards. Iowa has 4 different lists according to age that they promote each year, and so I do a lot with that. And then of course the national book awards are going to be like the Newbery Award and Caldecott. Michael Prince is from those awards are for young adult novels. Book talks, readers advisory, collection development. Those are all a big part of getting our kids to read and read a lot and love to read. So I wanted to explain the policies as far as circulation goes at the 3 different schools. So at the Early Learning Center, students can check out 1 book at a time, and they can have that for 1 6-day cycle. and I should preface all of this entire presentation as this is normal, normal library program. It's going to be a little different this year. But anyway, so they can have the books for a 6-day cycle, and at the ELC they don't place holds because they don't use the online catalog very much at that age. They can renew a book up to once. We don't have overdue fines at any of the libraries. We used to at the middle school, high school, but we discontinued that. So then with the elementary, they can check out 2 books, and again, it's a 6-day cycle because we have a fixed library schedule, and that's how often I see them. They can place holds on books, and they can renew books they can renew books twice. So that means that they could have it for a total of 3 weeks. And that's as long as nobody else has a hold on it. And then finally, middle school, high school, they can have 2 books for pleasure, but as many as they need for like projects and that sort of thing that comes up. 2 weeks for the duration, and then they can renew it one time. So unfortunately, we do end up losing books. I'm guilty of it in my family. My son lost several books while he was in school. So at the ELC, they need to return or pay for replacement of a lost book before they can check out another hardback book. And this is something I changed this year because I want them to still be reading, and they shouldn't be penalized at that age, I don't think, for misplacing a book. So they can still check out paperback books. I just limit them from hardback books just because they are so much more expensive. The elementary and the middle school, when their books are a week overdue is when they start sending out emails and reminders. The elementary, the emails go to the parents. The middle school and high school, I'll send it to the kids first, and then like the second week, I'll start including the parents on those emails. And a couple of years ago, we, the administrators and I discussed it. We decided that after a month, when a book is still not returned, and we haven't had any results from emails and such, then we will put a fine into Infinite Campus for replacement of the book. So once that's done, then I don't send any more emails and I quit bugging them. If the book shows up, which oftentimes it does, then we remove the fine. And that works pretty well. Damaged books, they get damaged a lot, and I like to save some of them. I have several chewed up books that I bring out to show the ELC kids each year. You know, can't believe that would happen. But, so I try my best to repair books if I can. Limited time makes it difficult. I've got 2 big stacks at the elementary right now that I need to repair. But if they can't be repaired, if they've gotten too wet or something like that, then the student or family will have to pay for replacement. And the method of replacement, I include this because one of my first years here, I had people, if they misplaced a book, they might go to Target and pick up a paperback book and bring that and give me that as a replacement. And obviously those are not quality enough to last very long. So I just sort of made it a rule that they need to pay for replacement from one of the publishers that I use for ordering books. Okay, weeding is basically how I go through the collection and decide what we need to keep and what we may need to look at replacing or getting rid of altogether. I look at a few different things. First and foremost is physical condition of the book. If the book is really raggedy and has a torn cover and the pages are yellow, nobody wants to check those out and read them. So I look at that. I also use a tool, it's called the Resource Alignment, and I'll show you an example of that real quickly. This is actually from 2017. So she takes all of the different Dewey categories and applies them to curriculum, and then figures out how long you should be keeping them in a collection. So the sample that I have here is economics, and if you look at the top, it says greater than 12. So those are the copyright dates. So what that means is if it has been published since 2012, it's still good to go. If it has been published between 2007 and 2011, it's still okay, and that's when the other options come in as far as looking at the condition. Anything before 2006 is too old, and it shouldn't be in a good library collection. So this, like I said, is 2017, so I would add 3 years to each of those, because I haven't updated it. So that's basically how I go through with that. And then finally, circulation records. I take a look at how much the book is being circulated, and a lot of times I will look at books that I think should be circulating more, and I will pull them out and put them on display for the kids, and they'll notice them and then start checking them out more often. So. Okay, so then along with weeding, you got to talk about purchasing and how I decide what books we need for the library collection is that I look at the curricular needs of all the all grade levels. I talk to the teachers and see what they feel is a need, and then I look at recommended lists, and circulation stats from other local school libraries. So, like Matt was mentioning, that he contacts other elementary principals. I do the same with librarians. And we share a lot of information about what are the hot reads and so forth. I also use professional journal reviews. School Library Journal is probably one of my most valuable subscriptions because it really gives a lot of in-depth, good reviews, and it's for school libraries. So, yeah. Okay, and then once I've made a list, I have 3 main publishers that I choose from. I always order library-bound books just because they will last longer. Also, when you purchase library-bound books from the publishers that I have used in the past, they will replace them if something happens to the binding. So this year, in May, I had about a dozen books come back that were damaged after being home for so long. And so I was able to contact those publishers, and they sent me replacements, no questions asked. So that's another nice thing that goes along with paying a little bit more for your library. And then once I know what I want, I compare from the shop, and I work with the reps to get the best deals. All right, that's about all I have. So, if you have any questions? And then grab a drink.
As far as new purchases, what's a rough number of how many titles you buy each year?
It depends on the year. Last year, I was able to get my orders in for the middle school, high school. We probably added about 125 books. But I ran out of time and didn't get books ordered for the elementary or ELC this year. So you promised. Put you on the spot in front of everybody. We also, the books that I mentioned that are on the state lists, partly pays for 50% of the cost of those. So every year I order those for the 3 libraries because it's such a big savings and the quality. So, like I brought in 3 boxes tonight of the ones that I ordered for this year. I took them home over the summer and processed them and read them. So, but, so it just, it depends. And it depends on the weeding. I haven't done any weeding for a while, but I did it in the nonfiction section of middle school and high school back there, so we needed a lot of new nonfiction. So I focused on that.
I know in our public libraries, the mission seems to be broadening a lot. Libraries are doing a lot more than they used to. Are there any trends like that happening in school libraries where new ideas or new ways of using the library are taking place?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, the use of online resources is, huge now. But you still have to teach the kids how to use those resources. So it's not as much coming in and checking out a book per se, but a lot of, like, we have ebooks now that we got through ADA, and teaching them how to use those, if they're using them for nonfiction, we can take notes directly in the ebooks. You can highlight stuff. So that's really helpful. So I would say more of that, learning how to use the online resources.
I have one last question.
Okay.
We're looking at board policy tonight that deals with copyright and fair use. How frequently are you approached by staff with questions about fair use? As I read it, there were numbers and limitations that I didn't realize since I left teaching, whether they're new or I just wasn't aware of them. But how proactive maybe are you at getting that information out to staff?
I will send out emails to the staff about that sort of stuff, and Jake and I have actually talked about it a little bit too. I have a book that I created last year for all the staff that has a section on it on fair use and copyright and that sort of thing. I also will be sending out this week a list of all the publishers that have said, yeah, you can read these books online. So that sort of stuff, but I can't make everybody pay attention to copyright laws probably as much as I would like to.
It's probably becoming more important with the increase in online learning and lesson planning and whatnot, so.
I think that's a good kind of piggyback, or I can piggyback off of that question with COVID has affected everything that we do in schools. I'm sure it will affect you in numerous ways, but specifically just in the way kids check out books and what that looks like. What are some big changes that are coming to the library programs as a result of COVID-19?
Well, one thing that we'll be doing this year is that the kids will not, at the elementary and middle school, they'll be using the online catalog to place holds, and then I'll hold the books for them, rather than them walking over and looking at books and taking them off to us, putting them back. When the books are returned, they're quarantined for 3 days, so they're sort of in a holding pattern and not available during that time. ELC and second grade, I will set the books out for them to choose from. And it's going to be, you touch it, you take it, for sure. High school, I feel like they can handle coming in and browsing the books. I'll just have a spot where they can play. If they pull a book off the shelf and go on it, I'll have a spot for them, and then I'll take it quarantine and that sort of thing. So that will be sort of how we'll handle it. And then I will also Anybody that is doing remote learning this year will also have the option to search the online catalog and play schools, and they'll have what's available for them. And all those limits and stuff, that'll go away.
Thank you. Any other questions, Liz? Thanks for that information. Appreciate it. Okay. Let's check out this new website.
I don't know if the checking out is a loose term.
Wait a minute, I thought it was gonna be emotional.
So I did ask, Cody to provide an update. It's in the hands of the developer. And so I said, Cody, can you just kind of give us a progress report on their behalf? And it's going to be a very short progress report, I think. But Cody, go ahead.
So I talked to Brian from Neapolitan Labs today, and he says they're still on pace for that September 14th launch if we want to. Right now, we should have a design in our hands in the next day or two. So that's what I was told today. I hope to see that. We currently have our past logo on it. Acorn's got logos to get approved tonight, so if we get those approved, then we're going to try to get those revisions to them as soon as possible so they can include those in their designs. And then as far as hands-on for you guys, August 31st is what they kind of gave me as a time for hands-on for you to look around before that. So that would give us about 2 weeks to look it over.
What's the testing going to be like for that? Is there going to be a group of testers on the site or just us?
So I am supposed to get in the next week or so. As far as just kind of looking through it, that'll be you and kind of a handful of staff that'll be eyes on. But yeah, Dave gets the test because he grilled with all the questions last week or 2 weeks ago. So he gets to be the tester. What's that?
Sure, punish me.
So
sometimes you ask the question, you get the word. But
I've done it before.
Yeah, I mean they're very thorough. So far they've been very thorough. So I'm hoping it's just kind of a quick look over. But yeah, we'll have kind of eyes on for 2 weeks before we can go live. So
excited to see it. Some band practice out there? Band camp. Okay. Got it.
Do you have any questions? That's it for me, but like, do you have any questions you want me to ask them? Those are the only 2 timelines I got. The next day or 2, I should be able to get you a view of kind of overall design, not functional, just basically a picture of what the view is going to look like. And then the 31st is when you can start clicking through it, hopefully.
Have they had to contact you with questions very much? Or
Basically, there's just a few things I have to give them, and they're looking at a lot of our current documents. So a lot of the documents that are hosted on Google, they can just transition themselves. So they're cleaning up and weeding as they go through. A couple things when we move to next week that they need from me, but not much. So they're handling most of it.
Okay. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you.
It seems like forever ago, but it was just a week ago today.
It's been a week.
It is the longest week of many of our lives. And so a lot of activity today, Dave. I told the new teachers, there's a lot going on when you have a crane in your school district. And today we had a crane in our school district. And so last week I asked Dave, I said, let's be ready to give a kind of a storm damage update. Throughout the week, outside of my Friday report, I think I gave you a pretty comprehensive list of some of the damage that was going on. This would be a great update. But before I turn it over to Dave, I just say that I'm pretty proud of the sense of the community spirit that developed over this. I think there's several people in this room that what'd you call it this morning? Rolled logs. Rob called it rolling logs. A lot of pulling branches. I think every administrator in the district yanked on a branch or two and helped pile, and it was a team effort from teachers, custodians, operations, administration, and even some volunteers. So really proud of the community spirit that came out with cleaning up the storm damage. But if you could kind of give us what we're up against and where we're at. And I have one big question, and you can answer at the beginning or the end. And are we on track to have school a week from today, based on what we experienced a week ago? You don't have to answer it this minute, but that's a question that I have, and I think the board probably has the same. So I'm going to turn it over to Dave.
All right, yeah, like Dr. Adams said, it's been 1 week. 11:30, probably last Monday, when I was out the back door and watched the back of the school truck pick off the ground and top of the trees come against some of our vehicles. Didn't think we'd get back, or be where we're at today. You could not get around the school on Monday. I mean, probably everybody in this room's had damage, either in Granger, Madrid, Woodward, out in the country, etc. As far as the schools, I'll still just go location by location. ELC, honestly, is probably the oldest building in the district, and it had no damage that we could find.
It's that little people magic, it just
That's right.
keeps it safe.
We had a rooftop unit at the elementary, which is for the, brings the fresh air in the building for the hood unit. Actually barrel rolled on the roof. And when it did, one of the natural gas lines had actually come loose and damaged the roof. It came down on the school, and we had a natural gas leak in the building. We addressed that Monday night, myself, Dr. Adams, Mr. Bruman. Once the building was safe enough, we went inside. They got the gas actually shut off. We figured out where the gas was actually coming from. That unit today, this morning, we had the crane there at 7 o'clock. A couple of you guys were there and seen the crane in action. We got the rooftop unit put back on the school. It has to sit for 24 hours basically. Because it was flipped completely upside down, all the oil in the compressors went to the top, so now it's got to sit. So actually all the oil will go back down to the bottom. Tomorrow, Kruk Heating and Cooling will be back on site to put all the new parts on that unit. And keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, it's just some cosmetic damage, a couple dents, getting the gas line repaired. We have to redo some wiring. Pretty minor stuff, as long as the unit decides to run tomorrow. I got good faith that it will. I think we're going to be golden. If we had anything holding us up from coming back to school, it would be that one unit. But with them guys on site today, myself, and they had 5 or 6 that everybody looked at it, I think we're going to be fine. All the parts that we need, they had. It's just basically a waiting game to let the unit sit so we can make sure that it fires up properly and we don't try to rush something and break something that is going to delay school. Roof at the elementary, I myself didn't get to see it because I was here right now at the storm. I know Luke, I think, witnessed it, and maybe Bruman. The roof was actually, looked like the roof for the gymnasium looked like a lake, or it was waving in the wind. I had Academy Roofing on site last week to address all the roofs. That roof has to be replaced. It is bad. It's not structurally gonna, I mean, it's safe, the school's safe, it's not gonna leak, but the membrane came unglued. So basically when they build those roofs, you know, they put the styrofoam down, insulation, they have to glue those rubber membrane down, so it has come loose. So sometime, it's not gonna delay school, they will get us on the schedule, with everything else is going out throughout Iowa. We'll get that fixed. Like I said, the building's not gonna leak, it's not gonna cause any damage to the gymnasium. As long as we don't have another 140-mile-an-hour winds, we'll be fine. As far as the elementary, flagpole, pretty minor. Yes, we gotta get the flagpole fixed. So if anybody knows that knows a flag company that does a really good job on that, we need, what, 3 or 4 of them? High school, middle school took majority of the damage. We had probably 6 rooftop units that had been moved. A lot of them myself. Mr. Mulling was up there, used his muscle, we picked them back up, put them back on the curb. We did that the Monday afternoon, wasn't it? During the storm, after that. The worst one was the rooftop unit for the auditorium, music room, band room. We had the crane on site again today. After we got done Granger, we got that one reset. That one was kind of scary because it come off the curb and was sitting on the rubber membrane. It did not damage that part of the roof. The unit's actually still running, even though it was kind of half upside down. It was still working. They fixed it already. It's up and going right now. There's some metal flashing on that part of the roof. If you guys drive around the building, you can see it. Academy Roofing will be on site this week to get that fixed before school starts on Monday. Gymnasium roof, some of the metal flashing had come unsnapped. It holds the rubber membrane down. They're going to reapply that or reattach that. Softball field took a lot of damage. Our maintenance shed where we keep the lawnmowers and all the grounds equipment and store stuff out there, both overhead doors have been blown completely off. The front of the building got blown completely out. We lost the two walk-through doors, 3 overhead doors. Softball field dugouts on, I call it the JV field. Took the majority of the hit, fence has been over, all the roofs come off of all the dugouts. We do have all that stuff cleaned up, so if we happen to get those, it's not gonna be blowing around the neighborhood. We got it all cleaned up, it actually looks nice, other stuff has to be repaired. Football field, we're still trying to figure out how to move some bleachers. We tried, was that this week or last week? My days are all messed. Last Friday, we attempted to pick it up with our skid loader. I did, and we put some pipes under it and tried to move it. It's too big. We need something bigger. I have contacted Frankie Manning and Charlie Manning to try to maybe get their Lowell in town to help move it. It'll lift up to 6,000 pounds, I think. But Matt and I have been talking. We might just have to take it apart. Still gonna have to pick it up, put it back where it was at. We'll probably have to take the bleachers apart and then reassemble them. I got the ticket booth put back to where it was at. It's kind of fun. But, hey, I got it in there. But, it took some damage, not from me, from the storm. Needs some new sheet metal on it. The roof is actually off the press box. Structurally, the building is fine as far as like the studs and the rafters and all that kind of stuff is good. It's just basically the metal cosmetic stuff. Again, Frankie Manning and all them they're willing to jump on that and help us out with getting that stuff fixed. We just don't have the equipment to get up that high and to do it. I mean, the manpower. I know I met with EMC Insurance, our adjuster for the buildings. I don't remember. It was one day last week. I know we still have to get out to the farm. We have not been out there yet. He was kind of in a hurry. He had to get to Matter High School because Matter is just as bad as we are. Tomorrow I meet with our automotive EMC adjuster. We have to have 2 different ones for some reason. We do have a little bit of bus damage to, I think, bus number 1.
Bus 1.
Nothing major. The new school truck, one of the big trees off the back came, hit the tailgate, pretty minor. And then we have, the band bus, or the music trailer was actually standing. I laugh at it, it's kind of funny just to see it sitting on its rear end the way it was. I actually took the skid loader and put it back down without hurting it, but where it slid across the ground and got into the other trailers, it's definitely got some damage. But he'll be out tomorrow on site, I think 8 a.m. We'll get all that stuff looked at. But no, I think we should be, a week ago, right now, if we had this meeting, told Dr. Adams one of those days you want to just go home and like cry. You don't know what to do. It's like overwhelming. I mean, it was just, but we had everybody, myself, I think everybody in here did something. All the custodians, and we had principals out there, digging in. Dr. Adams shows up to cut some trees, looked like a lumberjack ready to go. Icorn showed up after it was time we're about done to go home. He did roll one log and then record it, so at least he's got some pictures. But I would like to say thank you to everybody.
He brought tacos. He did bring tacos.
He did bring tacos. Yeah, somebody else brought 20 cheeseburgers. Just saying. Anyway, I would like to say thank you to everybody. Like I said, it would not look like it looks like right now without everybody's help, because I don't know how many loads you think we haul, 40 loads? I was so sore my fingers were locking into my hands, I couldn't even straighten my fingers from cutting the chainsaw all day. It was, no, like I said, if you guys got any questions, and I ask all YouTubes, I can't see everything. I mean, we're probably gonna find stuff a month down the road we don't know something's wrong with until maybe we fire up a boiler. I mean, we're always gonna find something. EMC is, willing to work with us if we find something later down the road. because like, you're not gonna find everything. It was a war zone around here.
How long does the claim usually stay open?
I'm not sure. He did call me tonight, actually, we're sitting over here. He's gonna have, like some stuff they'll actually give us an estimate of what they're gonna pay for, because they can do that, but like moving bleachers, using a crane, putting the rooftops, it's basically whatever we're gonna have to, whatever we provide is what they're gonna, pay or whatever, because they just can't write a claim for that, or they have no way to do adjustment or whatever on it, like the trailer, setting it back on the ground. I think they will help pay tree removal. I wanted to say, I think it was $1,000 per tree, I think. Because when him and I walked around, we did just 3 trees up front. I think there's just 6 trees just right here on this campus. We still got the big one over here we're gonna worry about later when school gets started. We did have some city people go over and clean a lot of that up for us yesterday, yesterday.
How do the bleachers look structurally? And do we have to
They
have
actually,
somebody?
there's one lower control beam or whatever that's bent. It can be fixed. It's pretty simple fix. They actually, the crazy thing is there's 2 picnic tables sitting right inside the gate that didn't even move.
I noticed that
But
in
yet
the
the
picture.
building is rolled over into the field, the fence is down, and the bleachers, however it did what it did. And I wish we'd had camera down there, Cody, if we could have watched it, because we wouldn't have power, so
Picked it up and then replaced it.
Had to,
because,
yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of, the track's gonna.
the tracks definitely have to be fixed. I mean, the track has to be
But I mean,
fixed.
it's not ripped up as much as I thought it was
Sure.
going to be.
My daughter lives just on the other side of the field, so I was watching that, and it's like, where did the bleachers go? And then I realized they were turned 90 degrees. And the ticket box, 180 flip.
Oh, yeah, like at least 3 times.
It's like, the
That's
ticket
just-
windows are on the
that's just
wrong
when Dave was
side.
trying to get it back up right.
Hey, I didn't hurt it. That's all I got. Like I said, if anybody's got any, like I said, we take it out, look at that farm FFA stuff out there yet. Basically, what we do, try to prioritize, get schools ready to go first. Once school's up and going, we know we don't have roof leaks, so they'll be found. We've done a lot, or I've done a lot of just temporary patching with tar, blackjack, just to get by till Cat Roofing gets here on site to actually go and actually do the repairs, but.
So I think I agree with Dave. If we were having a meeting last week, we may have paused and said, hey, are we able to do this? Dave just does a great job all week long. He was about daily, hey, here's where we're at, here's where we're at. I wasn't hearing anything that sounded an alarm, and I'm certainly not hearing it tonight. I think where we are tonight compared to where we were a week ago, we're in pretty good shape to have school on next week, August 24th.
I will have an exact answer tomorrow, yes, I don't think anything's gonna.
Barring anything crazy with that unit.
Yeah,
It was
I honestly
up
don't
on
see
the-
anything.
Okay.
Well, Dave, thank you to you and your team for the hard work. You guys busted your tails and it shows, so really appreciate it. All the work to get these kiddos back to school.
So I want to say thank you to everybody, even Cody. Cody was out there digging in.
Even Cody. Even Cody.
Back in Lockport, I had.
Yeah, that goes there.
I brought what I could bring.
And some pruners.
I brought what I could bring. My
Can I bring anything?
chainsaws
Yes,
are
bring a
electric. Do you
chainsaw.
have power?
Bring a
Two
chainsaw.
chainsaws are electric.
Bring me some
No power.
Will
this work? Sure. It'll be
Be
great.
happy with what you could get.
Rose garden. We're turning back rose bushes. That'll be great.
The thought that counts, Becca.
That's right. Moving on.
All
Was there
right.
any damage at the
Central office.
central office?
Just debris.
How about Grandwood?
Grandwood did get off, sorry, but you were good.
Yep, we have a broken window
Oh, brilliant.
and a door that wouldn't shut, and then we had some metal come off the underneath of like the vestibule area where vehicles drive under. And so those have actually all been turned into our owner, and he's working with Edge Construction to get those things fixed.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, thanks for that good update. You ready to move on to the action then? Okay.
We had our public hearing a little earlier. I'm going to turn this over to Luke. He's done a lot of great work on this resolution to continue that instructional support program.
Yep, so this is just, we'll talk about the last few meetings. This is just the final resolution to approve for the next 5 years. So, any questions?
I move that WG Board of Education approve the attached resolution to continue participation in the instructional support program.
Motion by Tim, seconded by Dave. All those in favor? Oh, we need a roll call, sorry.
Ashton Grant?
Yes.
Tim McGuirs?
Yes.
Troy Gaines?
Yes.
Dave Elliott?
Yes.
Sam Perry?
Yes.
All right, logos.
So I'm really excited about this agenda item. It's something, branding is near and dear to Matt's heart, Cody's, and myself. And so it's really a lot of fun to see kind of the website coming together, seeing some branding and some logos coming together. And so I'm excited. Matt's put a lot of work into this. He's shared some things along the way. People have added, offered feedback and whatnot. And so tonight he's brought something that
Can't sit in there.
No, sorry.
tonight he's bringing something for our consideration as we kind of think about how we're going to brand our district for lots and lots of years to come.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, so it was back in March when we had talked about just different ideas, whatever. I reached out to some people, staff members, a couple people in the community, threw some things at them. And some of the things that we got back were the logos that we were getting weren't necessarily better than what we had. So we kind of intermixed a little bit of what we had and kind of enhanced it, as you can see. So this is kind of what we've come up with. As you can see, the top right is very similar to our old one, but it's kind of enhanced the hawk a little bit. But that WG underneath was better than anything that they were giving us. So we kind of liked that part of it. We got two different options as far as where it says pep band and baseball. Thought that maybe we could have a discussion on where we would like. I kind of like it underneath the W. I think it fits better that way as opposed to centered. And then we got secondary logos on the left-hand side. And then the bottom right, we're talking about using that as kind of our district logo. The top right would be an activities logo. And go from there. Second one here, that one's just Cody was looking for, hey, can we just get the Hawks, see what that looks like? And then at the top right are the Pantone colors, which is something that was important to us. So whenever we get anything made, we could always have the same color gold, same color green, because everyone's like, what are your colors? Well, it's forest green and Vegas gold, and everybody has a different hunter or different forest. Because we always say forest, but hunter was more towards most places would be more of what we were going for. So it was always confusing, and so every time you see a logo, it had a different tint to it, a different gold, a different green. So those would be our Pantone colors. And then the last one was just the different strips, the way they write Hawks, stick to that in any which way, you can italicize it. And then once you guys approve everything, then what we do is the AEA person that kind of put it all together will make a style guide. And then I don't know how many pages, most of the time they're like 15 to 20 pages of when you can use the logo, when you can't use the logo, how you use the logo. You can't switch the bird, you can't make the hawk inverted. It's crazy what they come up with, and then basically, if anybody wants to use our logo, they have to ask for permission to use it as opposed to just taking it and doing what they want. So thoughts on, I know it's not completely different than what we have, but I feel like it's enhanced it a little bit. And then knowing which colors we have and having a couple secondary logos, I think it helps.
I mean, so it looks great. So, I mean, 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 it looks is the ask for, are you asking for feedback on this page, or are you asking, or is this your recommendation on this page?
Are these all options?
So these are,
This is what we kind of,
Yeah.
this is what we're.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But my suggestion would be, because we got two different, you know, we're pep band and baseball, I would say we choose one of those and then stick with that, so it's always that way.
My preference is the baseball one versus the center one. I think that looks sharper.
That's kind of what I think too. So she just gave us a couple different options to see what it looks like.
It looks great.
And then you could also, you know, if you take the script, if you wanted to take like that bottom left hawk and then put that with the scratch, you know what I mean, as opposed to the WG, you know, we could put that into the style guide, but we wouldn't switch, you know, these would be mainly what we would go with.
It looks good. So what does activation look like? So if we approve it today, we get the style guide.
Yep.
Then what?
Then.
Do you give it to everybody so that everybody knows?
Yep, so what I'll do is, if everything is approved tonight, I'll get hold of Jan tomorrow at the AAA and say, hey, this has been approved, we like where baseball's written, so when you write the rules of everything, so basically what happens is, once the style guide comes out, you probably have to approve the style guide too, to make sure that it's all the rules that we feel should be in place with it. And then after that, the logo is 100% ours.
And it's all new stuff, right? We're not gonna go out and start replacing existing
Correct.
uniforms.
Correct, yeah, because all our baseball uniforms have a different logo on them right now. I'm not gonna spend that money to replace them. So as they come up,
Sure.
you know, so I've talked to some people that have ordered things already for this year, like our football decal on the helmet. Like that's okay for this year, next year we'll look at getting something new.
Got it.
We'd also want to follow up with the board policy on use, you know, community use. As I stated a year ago, I want it everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, when I say that, it's not going to be very, it's not going to be restrictive as far as permission to use, but it'll be restrictive as far as the style guide and how we go about using it. So, in a way, Matt, I felt like a couple times there you were apologizing for not looking that different. And I think that's fantastic because we're kind of honoring, you know, we're honoring our past. I mean, this wasn't about changing everything.
Sure.
This was about really branding ourselves and putting that consistency together. So I like where you landed.
Yeah, I do too, because I know a couple months ago it was supposed to be on the agenda, and I just wasn't thrilled with where we were at. And I'm like, I don't want to be the one that doesn't push the new, because we've been talking about it, but I'm like, I talked to Dr. Evans, I talked to Luke and Cody, and once I said it, they're all like, yeah, we're all on the same page. I'm like, good, because I thought it was kind of, so I like the way that it is enhanced, plus we've got a secondary, got a couple secondaries there, and then everything's gonna be the same. You know, with our new order that we just got, this is a new, I wasn't sure what the WG was gonna look like, so I went mostly with just the hawk on it, you know, but, I'm excited for moving forward with this and having an actual style guide, so when we get new uniforms, we get t-shirts, we get whatever, we hand the style guide to them and say, these are all the rules, and then it's pretty cut and dry from there.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Motion to
I move the WG Board of Education approve the new logos for Woodward-Granger as presented.
Motion by Troy, seconded by Sam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All staff handbook.
You bet. So over the last couple of weeks, I've spent some time with Kendra and Christy and Mindy, and we wanted the staff handbook really just to do edits anyway, but then also to reflect a little bit some of the nuances that COVID-19 is bringing us. And one of the things that I would say, and I believe Kendra and Christy would agree, there was a couple, 3 items that we think will be perfect conversations in the Labor Management Committee that we're starting in September. We just didn't, there are things that we want to talk about, but we felt a larger group would need to be together to talk about it. So what you have before you, what we're asking you to recommend approval tonight is that all-staff handbook with edits completed by the WGEA and myself.
Will this exist only in online fashion? Will there be printed copies? How will it be?
We've had in the past online. I suppose if somebody requested a printed copy, we could certainly make them one. So I think Cody put some, I think one of the things that we wanted to see about a year ago was a table of contents that was easy to navigate, and Cody put some work into that. So I think people probably appreciate that a little bit more than a printed copy trying to find what they're looking for.
I move the WG Board of Education approve the all-staff handbook for the 2020-2021 school year as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Sam, seconded by Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. More policy.
So what I've brought to you tonight is kind of the tail end of mandatory policies. These are mandatory policies, and I'm picking the low-hanging fruit. These are policies that have legal citations, really just cleanup, if you will. I will tell you, I appreciate Corinne. She's here tonight. I consulted with her on a number of these policies, and I really wanted to make sure that the policies reflected our current practice and our best practice. And so I don't know if I ever thanked you, but thank you for doing that. A number of these policies have your thumbprint on them. And likewise, anything that has to do with student health, I want to thank Tiffany and Christy and Alex. I asked them to kind of make sure that those policies reflected best practice and our current practice. So anything related to nursing or to media was vetted through that group. I would draw your attention to one policy, policy 711.8. That is a mandatory policy that we didn't have in our policy manual, so that's new. That's about inclement weather, and basically it gives the superintendent authority to cancel school based on weather. I used to think that was a big deal, Ashley, canceling school for weather.
Yeah.
Now after COVID, that doesn't seem like a very big deal at all to me. Anyway, 711.8 is about transportation and inclement weather. I've got Dave, he's the first call in the morning. Mike Ramsey, other bus drivers. It's not just me asking my magic 8 ball, should we have school or not. We're National Weather Service and people with their eyes on the road to make those kinds of decisions. So I'd be happy to answer any of the questions. The rest are basically legal citations or just little bits of cleanup as it relates to taking notes out that shouldn't be in there and whatnot. This will be I'm kind of excited in September. What I bring to you will be actually vetted through my policy committee that starts on September 3rd. So I'm kind of excited for that group to get started, because now the heavy lifting begins, really having conversation. Have been bringing you cleanup, so to speak.
How many people do you have on that team?
About 12, roughly about 12. Yeah, I've got a few asks that are still out there that haven't confirmed, but
I move the WG Board of Education approve first reading board policies 215, 215.1E1, 501.3, 503.1, 503.1 R1, 506.4, 507.1, 507.3, 507.4, 507.8, 711.3, 711.4, 711.8, 403.3, 403.3E1, 413.3, 603.4, 603.11, 605.5, 606.6, 605.7, 607.0, 605.2R1 and 605.7R1 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Sam, seconded by Troy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then just on to the consent agenda. I reviewed bills this afternoon. Everything looks good there. I know typically we don't give a progress report on staffing, but I've had a lot of people ask questions. So, and I think it's because you broadcasted your news on a Friday morning announcement.
That's what you're referring
Oh, yeah, we do.
So the second grade position sounds like they had some really great interviews. Hopefully, we'll have some more information on that soon. Fair statement?
I'm hoping the same thing, yes.
Okay, okay, perfect. Any questions from anyone on the consent agenda?
I move the WG Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Tim, seconded by Troy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Anything else? What are the other files?
Do we want to consider scheduling a 2-week from now board meeting in case we need to address any issues? COVID and opening related. I'm not pushing, but September is a long ways away.
Yeah, let's pencil, can we pencil that in?
Yeah.
I don't know what that might look like, what that need might be.
Well, if we don't, I mean, we can always call an emergency, but we have to post 24 hours for that to happen.
Yeah. We got Labor Day, and there'll be about the right time.
Labor Day is the 7th.
Yeah, the 7th would be kind of the right time, it'd be kind of right in between.
What do the rest of you think?
I think we need to be ready to,
Yeah.
for sure, meet. Maybe let's look at the first week, and then you all can kind of confer, and if you feel like we need to address something, maybe by the end of the first week, we can really decide if we need to nail it down or not.
Would we be okay with that Tuesday, kind of the Tuesday the 8th? So if everybody would like to just kind of pencil Tuesday the 8th, then we'll just kind of assess. I don't want to meet just to meet. But at the same time, I think we got to be ready. We need to be agile. We've asked the staff to be agile, so the board needs, and the superintendent need to be agile, so. So pencil in the 8th, and we'll kind of evaluate as the first week goes by.
I never thought I'd be so excited to say I'm really excited for school to be back on Monday. Selfishly for my own children, but more importantly for the kids that we have in this district. Really excited for them to get back in front of the teachers that love them and are committed to educating them. Really, really proud of the work that this group has done to get us to this point. We are doing something special here, and I continue to feel that. And even in the momentum that's building up to August 24th, you can feel it through all of our hardship. So really excited for this group to be back together.
I dropped my son off at football camp at 5 before the meeting, and I sat there for half an hour and watched them. It was just so good to see the kids run around, interact with each other. It was great. It's like get back to normal, get back to school, so excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's do it. Okay. Need a motion to adjourn?
I move that the meeting adjourn at 7:59 PM.
Second.
Motion by Sam, seconded by Tim. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.